I am losing my taste for danger. Some riders might object to this being called a high-speed touring video, but you know, it's quite relative, really. How much quicker than everybody else do you want to ride down public roads? How fast is safe on an unknown country road like this one right here? Now, if you're on the Autobahn, high speed is 200 kilometers an hour plus, because you're all going the same direction, there's nothing going on, going off, crossing the road. I've actually done 230 kilometers on the same kind of lampoon road you see right here, but only for a few seconds and with the dreadful knowledge that I could not avoid any wandering goat or bread seller or anybody else who happened to want to cross the road, wander out into the pavement. Pow! Somebody can pop right out, like those two girls on Vespa that I saw one day. One was laying dead on the road and the other was sitting with her head in her arms crying. And the Vespa was laying there next to a big BMW, and he was in trouble because he'd hit the bike, and he wasn't at fault, but the rule here is the larger you are, the more likely it is you're going to pay.
For me, the great pleasure is to have control, total control, and that's why bicycling is better than motorcycling. You give me a 200 horsepower motorcycle the size and weight of a bicycle with variable trail and rake, variable tires getting fat and skinny depending on whether you're in a straight or in a turn, I'd love it. Big, heavy motorcycles alarm me. I get scared because I'm not in control. I'm a passenger. I'm a victim. I'm going along the Titanic and looking at the iceberg looming at me. Any motorcycle over 100 kilograms, 150 maximum, is alarming.
Sometimes they'll come at you and they'll run you right off the road.
Truck, 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 truck.
It's important not to alarm other riders when you pass them. You can go as fast as you want, but stay invisible. Zip, right, effortlessly, smoothly, and not threateningly.
There really are so many dangers that you never read about, you never know about until you come face to face with them. And one of them is, I've ridden so many years. I've had a charmed life. I can't die. I can't get smashed up because some idiot who's on his hand phone pulls in front of me. Somebody who's in a mean mood decides to run me off the road into some palm trees. The road suddenly collapses in front of me. There's a washout. I'm charmed. I can't die. And then all I got to think about is Joey Dunlop and Jim Clark and Mike Halewood and all the others who thought they had charmed lives or acted like they had charmed lives. Bill Ivey, Graham Hill, and they're not around. Cal Rayburn, and I can go on and on and on. And I've studied these guys. I've studied them because they were really good. They were really more seasoned than me. They probably had more talent than me on the race course. And they're in the other world because the earth, the forces conspired against them. The joy of speed is like none other. Sex, drugs, violence. Actually, violence, combat maybe comes the closest, because what the thrill of speed is a perpetual balance. Two elements, water and oil, which never mix, fear and pleasure. Because without fear, it ends very quickly. Without the awareness of what it can do to you, you end up in a bad way. And the pleasure is always there, the pleasure of beating somebody else, the pleasure of beating the odds on the roads, on the race course. And no matter how much you do it, it's still there. A fine machine with so much power it wants to pull your arms out of their sockets, raise the front wheel, the rear squiggling, dragging you forward. You're leaning in the turns lower and lower in perfect balance against gravity, against the forces of friction. There's nothing better in the world than speed. I like to ride fast. Speed. I've ridden in the
always
Concord.
a little bit faster.
I've gone faster than I ever went before, faster than anybody else.
I don't like to
watching
go
this
over
video
200 kilometers an
unless
hour.
you've ridden in the Concord
on
too.
the surface.
And it
you
was
go
like
over
a
200,
big,
over
boring,
250
cramped
especially,
business jet.
and you're
Because
not
the
really in
speed was up in the
control.
stratosphere.
You're
There were
subject
no
to the
trees
forces
and
of
walls
aerodynamics.
Curbs and other riders.
Things can
other
happen
traffic
as the
that
machine
have
is
to navigate
overstressed
around.
and you're not really on the road. You're floating in the air half the time because you're flying off bumps. And things happen so quickly. On the race course, above 200, you're hanging on for dear life. Whatever you do, your reaction times can be extremely fast, but above 250 at 300 kilometers an hour.
Gravity is not
how
the
fast
enemy.
can your reaction times be?
Gravity is not our
You're
friend.
like a pilot. The difference
But
is, of course, that in an airplane,
never
much is
forgets.
automated, and you're also not flying through trees and with other riders and other pilots or whatever, other airplanes, with the exception of the Reno Air Races. Now, those guys I really admire because you're road racing in 3 dimensions.
The Japan Grand Prix, the Isle of Man, Wall, Texas, Galveston, the United States Grand Prix at Daytona, Vacaville, Cotati, Riverside, Willow Springs, Sacramento Fairgrounds, City Parks in Cali,
Fantastic.
Colombia. I look back and I cringe.